almost done with the colors. I need her other tongue. Oh wait, I can do this. This is why we draw multiple scenarios. Okay, we got our flats done. Let me try something different. Hello, hello. Okay, we'll keep that, but I'm going to do it this way. Been a while since I used this method, so I'm gonna see how I feel about it. Worst case scenario, I can just change it. And so we've messed that up. Switch that, there we go. Just making sure I do this right. Hey, Frost. No, I haven't looked. I'm not on Discord very often. I just kind of pop in to see a few messages and then pop out. And I don't have it on my phone, so I don't get notifications or anything like that. Like, I used to have it on my phone, but then it got super fucking annoying. Same thing for Facebook and Twitter. So I just took them off my phone. Or at least turned off the notifications. I think Twitter is technically still on my phone, but it doesn't have notifications, so I rarely get on Twitter with my phone. The other two, though, I don't have at all. Okay, cool. Let's see. Sure, what's your question? To getting called furries? In their world, it'd probably be treated the same stance, so like if they're wearing costumes of furries, then that, or like they act in a particular way that applies to furries, then they pretty much act the same. But since the majority of them are animal characters, they probably wouldn't care. They'd be like, yeah, and. But if it's like them wearing costumes and stuff like that, then I would assume they would just be applied exactly the same. But I would say they wouldn't really care. It's like it's hard for that to be an insult when a good chunk of the planet are beast people. Or not even an insult, but just like a saying, since most of the planet are animals. That's like calling a person a human. Or like a human. It's like, hey, you're a human. They're like, yeah, and? I mean, they could wear human costumes if they want to. At that point, you might as well just call it cosplay, because that covers everything. Whatever happened to that long ass playlist? Oh well. This is probably gonna apply over here. So, or if it does, I need to change the angle a bit. Nah, because that sounds closer to like skinny dipping. I don't think it works very well because there's no real good term for it that sounds useful, that sounds good. So I would just say cosplay. And sure, you could call, like, because humans still exist in their world, humans will probably still use the furry term. But it just, again, it doesn't really work when you do have beast people roaming around. So it kind of loses meaning. Like, I guess you could still apply it to humans. Like, so if a human wears animal costume, then you could still call them a furry. But if it's the other way around, it's like, you know, what term would be useful that actually sounds good and not just stupid? And then the same thing goes for scalies. It's like, you know, and then how do you apply that to bugs? And then how do you apply that to fish people and other stuff? I mean, fish people kind of falls into scaly, but still, it's just like you need a overencompassing term, which is just cosplay. But I would say the terms that are normally used on humans would still apply, if it's even useful to use. Or you just use the same terms regardless of whether or not they're a beast person. It's like, okay, cool. And they'll just react the way they would normally react to it. So it's like, oh, duck person, call them a furry, and you're like, they'll just glare at you and be like, uh-huh. Honestly, it just makes the person who uses the term look stupid if they try saying it to them. Well, I mean, fuzzy applies to creatures that are fuzzy. There's a small difference. It ain't much, but it's there. And then, depending on what fandom you're part of, that might actually mean something. I mean, there are a lot of people that use the terms wrong or whatever. Me, after a certain point, I just fall into like for example, if they're talking about like a person dressed as a dragon, I just fall into calling that a furry because it's easier to explain than saying scaly or any other term that applies to any other situation within that group. Because it's kind of like having to explain what a brony is, and it's like, okay, a brony is technically not a furry because you don't have to be a furry to like My Little Pony. However, it can cross over with furry. So depending on the person, you can technically call them a furry. So that's when it just gets, outlandish, and you just have to separate the terms based off of the context. And sure, you can have somebody who is referring to furries and calls them fuzzy, and they'll be technically not correct, but I don't think it's like a big deal to try to correct them. Me and my brony shirt in the laundry bin right now. But yeah, like it just boils down to context. Because it's like, what do you call a Sonic fan type of thing? Because depending on where you're coming from, there can be multiple terms that you can call a Sonic fan. Would I get a Becky fursuit? Hell yeah. That'd be fun. Well, if I'm cosplaying as Becky, she's definitely not going to be dancing, but she will shoot the bird. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Flipping the bird, shoot the bird, whatever terms that mean using the middle finger. Yeah, Becky's not a dancer. She might be talked into like a little slow dance or something, but that's about it. That's like the extent of her dancing. What didn't I answer? Oh. Something posts videos of people getting annoyed or cringe at sexy stuff. You might have to type that again so I can see the full thing. Because I know it got cut off. I don't know why it blocks stuff like that. I mean, I know why, but there should be an option for me to decide. Have I seen videos of people getting annoyed at sexy stuff? Not really. I mean, obviously there are people that I've seen, you know, get all defensive or whatever over fan service stuff or similar stuff like that. But honestly, that just boils down to like look, if you don't like it, then don't engage with it or don't look at content that has that stuff in it. It's like I don't know what else to tell you. Either grow a pair or, you know, don't interact or don't, you know, go into those spaces. That's kind of it, really. YouTube is weird because they want to be family friendly, but if they are family friendly, they get in trouble. Because that's why they did the whole what was it called when they got in trouble with the underage, well, not underage stuff, but not or profiting off of kid interaction or something like that. It was some shit that happened a few years ago, but yeah, it's like if it was because they were too kid friendly that they got in trouble, but they're still trying to be family friendly or kid friendly or whatever, so they can get more advertisers and engagements. And it's like you guys gotta have to pick a lane here. or at the very least design a system that allows mature content to be separated from YouTube. Like if we just had like a YouTube Black or something like that, then cool. Have people who make that content go over there. It's that fucking simple. And at some and like before it's like, oh well, if they do that, advertisers won't use advertise on YouTube and all that. It's like, guys, it's fucking YouTube. Where else are they gonna fucking go? That's why YouTube should not have caved when the whole apocalypse happened the first time. Because YouTube had all the cards, but they folded because they got scared when they didn't realize they had the power the whole time. It's like, guys, you're one of the most sought after platforms. Where else are they gonna go? Yeah, it was Kappa. I haven't seen any of those. If I have, I don't remember them. The Flash Gets things. YouTube is run by AI. It's getting there, if not already. I'll say that there's still people running it, but they're not running it efficiently. Because a lot of them are being lazy, or whoever's moderating is being outsourced to like the most minimum interaction. I mean, that's been obvious for years at this point. Like, even the AI stuff, that's not new. Like, we already knew that was happening, like, years ago. Okay. This is going the way I'm expecting. So let's try this. Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be a breaking point at some point. I don't know when or where that would be. But at some point, something's gonna give, and then that's when major changes happen. Whether for the better or for the worse, so we're just gonna have to ride that ride until it happens. Because again, they could easily solve this problem by just making a separate YouTube for more mature content. Because it's like, they keep complaining about, oh, we want to make sure kids aren't seeing, mature content. And I'm like, that's literally what YouTube Kids is for. And granted, YouTube Kids also has, not safe for work content every once in a while. But that boils down to the moderation team, moderating the kids section, which they should be doing already. And then for normal YouTube, you can keep that one to like, family friendly to like semi-mature. So like, let's just say like curse words are fine. Violence, you can have a threshold for that. It's like, okay, there could be a little bit of blood, but it can't be like, I don't know, let's just say Mortal Kombat levels. But then just have YouTube Black, where that's where all the gore and sexual stuff happens. And then you just split the ad people based on who they want to advertise to. It's like, oh, do you want to advertise to regular YouTube, or do you want to advertise to YouTube Black? There you go. It's not hard. And it doesn't even have to be like a big major change thing. It's just like, okay, which tab are you going to use? Are you going to use regular YouTube or YouTube Black? Done. And just split it. And technically, it's like that already when you click the option of is this 18 or older? And there you go. It's already like that. Just make it more obvious. It's like we already have the setup. Just make it more visible so that people understand what they're looking at. It's literally not that hard. I think that's what's frustrating with a lot of scenarios like this, is where everybody can see the answer, but for some reason the people in charge keep picking the other answer. It's like everybody on the internet, the answer is A. Person answering the question picks B, and it's like, and everyone's just shrugged, just goes, just oh my god. So, yeah, it's just a scenario where it's like, we already have the answers, it's just a matter of someone smart actually picking them. And granted, like, I know YouTube cannot humanly view every goddamn video to make sure that they're appropriate. That's just humanly impossible. Because even if every video was only like 5 minutes long, they get like hundreds of thousands of videos per day, and it's just not possible to manually review them. Like, I understand that. It's the ones that do get flagged or do get, you know, appealed and stuff like that. I think that in those situations, it should be more manually looked at, even if it takes a long time to go through those videos, just because of how many there will be. And like, as long as the revenue from those videos is still like kept and not like lost during that time, then I think people are willing to wait and just, you know, continue making more videos that don't have this problem. And that way, when their video does get released from being manually reviewed, then it's like, okay, cool, I got the money. Because obviously, when people appeal, and then they get a message saying like, oh, we manually reviewed it, and yes, it does break terms of service, but that video got reviewed in like 5 minutes after you appealed it, and the video itself is like an hour long. You know damn well that nobody looked at an hour-long video in 5 minutes. Like, situations like that is like, okay, come on. Like, that should not even be a thing. So, it's a hard situation to answer, because it's like, you know, there's only so much manpower that can happen. So many hours in a day, blah blah blah. And, you know, obviously people will pick safer content so that way they don't have to deal with that scenario. But it's also a situation where it's like, you know, if they do make certain content that has that problem, you know, they gotta realistically be okay with the review process taking a long time if they want it to be thorough. So, bit of a trade-off on that. But realistically, there's no possible way to do it without the help of AI or whatever other method. And granted, if they hired more people, giving people more jobs, that would probably help, but that would also cost more money. Which YouTube has always barely. I can't. I think they like what barely break even, or constantly lose money making with YouTube, but they make enough to justify keeping it alive because of their other ventures and stuff like that. So it's already on like a thin line anyway. So sorry, I keep missing stuff that isn't showing up. You got people coming with stupid terminology, games, blah, blah. Yeah, I get annoyed of them using different terminology too every once in a while. Because to me, if you're gonna talk about it, just fucking say the word. If you're not gonna talk about it, then don't bother. Or if you're gonna try to skirt around it, then don't bother. But I understand why they're doing it. It's just dumb. And again, that falls into the whole AI realizing what they're saying scenario. Which, again, if they're properly marking their videos to be like, if you're going to talk about that kind of situation, you shouldn't expect your video to be considered family friendly at that point. And so you should just concede that your video is going to be put into age restricted and thus get less revenue from it. Like, that should just be an expected thing at that point. But I don't know. I don't make that kind of content, or I don't make that kind of content. So who knows? Plus, I don't make any money off of YouTube videos anyway. So obviously, my perspective on it is different because I don't care. But in terms of understanding the scenario, yeah, it's dumb. There's a limit to freedom of speech, though. Because, like, obviously you can't go into a theater and scream, "There's a bomb." So, obviously there's a limit to that. But yeah, I understand what you mean. But again, like, there's freedom of speech, but you also have to play the game. So, if the game means, hey, you can't say this or else you don't get money, then you decide whether or not you're gonna follow those rules. And either get money or not get money. So, there is freedom of speech, but one comes with money and one doesn't, so I guess that's how you boil that down. Well, some people do and some people don't. Just depends on what you're watching, I guess, or who you're watching. So if you don't like that kind of censorship, then you should probably avoid watching those videos. What did I do for you? It's been a while since I used this method. Blah blah blah. Overlaying multiplying, that's what we used. Let's see. Let's try something. Oh, Joanne. Yeah, sometimes I suffer from the whole same face problem, although hers and Jam's are fairly different, but I understand. Well, in Jam's case, her face is vastly different compared to Joanne's. So a little harder to mistake her as Joanne or vice versa. Just a skosh harder. Alright, which method do I like more? I like this one more because of the contrast. Is this necessary? Who knows? Let's see how I feel when I do more. Right now I'm experimenting, so this part is going to take longer than normal. Hold on. Where's Jam? I think it'll help if I have her next to her. So here's Jam. And then I can bring up Joanne on this page. And then Joanne. So I could say maybe the spikes in the beginning when I'm doing the line art, but after a certain point it's like hard to mistake them. But I get it. Not a bad thing. Alright, so blah. Did that even do anything to what it looked like before? I guess it did something. We'll keep experimenting because I need to use this knowledge. Okay, now here is the part where this can actually be changed. So here's all of this. So if we bump this up, we get that. So if we bump this up, we get this. Does this do anything? It does make it darker, but I need to see how this applies. Let's see. So if I do this, that's what that happens. So if I do that, it makes it significantly darker though. So let's put that back. What happens if I bump this to 100? Way too dark. This can be tweaked. So I might actually redo this layer. This is fine. This is also fine. Ah, this is just a different method. So hold on, let me play around with this. This is how it normally is. Or actually I don't have to do that. I can just turn these off. Oh, it's because this is on overlay, that's why it looks weird. Okay, so let's change you back to multiply. Okay, that's when it gets darker. Especially in this one's case, because that's what it looks like normally. And then changing this messes with that. Changing this matches with all that. Interesting. One has a humongous ass. Yes, she does. Okay. I think I learned what I want. But this is interesting. Alright, so let's delete that. Still gonna use the layer though, but I want to adjust the shading. This is probably this is just a method I'm experimenting with, is trying to see if I can tweak what I've done in the past. But actually, let's put that back and just carve away what we don't need, because that would be much easier. Or actually, no, it wouldn't be. Only because of certain spots. So yeah, this would be easier. That's cool. It's still early on my end. It's only 10 o'clock for me, but even then, midnight to me is too early. I go to bed at whatever time, honestly, but most of the time I go to bed at like 4 or 5 a.m. and then wake up at like 6 or 7 a.m. Sometimes I'll stretch it to like 8, maybe 9 if I'm feeling frisky, but that's about it. Most of the time I only get about 2 hours of sleep. Is that a good thing? Probably not. But that's usually how it works for me. And I've been doing that for decades. And I don't drink coffee very often. So Lord knows what's keeping me going. Yeah, I run on water. Dr. Pepper is good though. I like Dr. Pepper. Wait, so does this even do anything? Yes, yes it does. It does. The big good to know. So then what is this missing? Hold on. I need to know this. That did nothing. So where is this coming from? Oh, okay, it comes from here. Does it matter in the long run? Probably not. Let's see. Huh. What is causing that? This is one of those situations where you're like, fuck. I need to learn. And I need to know why. Because understanding why this is working the way it's working is very useful. Huh, that is weird. So if I color that, it makes that brighter. If I put it on multiply. Huh. Interesting. Okay. I understand. I understand, and it's weird. It's like I figured out why it's doing that, and it's just weird. Now that I know why. Okay. Didn't really change anything, but still, it's just one of those things that you just have to know the answer, and then once you learn it, you're like, what the fuck? I gotta try to play Street Fighter without hitting myself. Without hitting yourself? Like, you actively hit yourself when you play? Two. Honestly, unless you're actively going to competitions and stuff like that, don't take it very seriously. Because realistically, you will not be the best unless you compete in those things. And if you do compete, you gotta not take it seriously when you're playing against friends or family or whatever, because they'll never be on the level that you're playing unless they too take it that seriously. So just have fun and only be that way when you're attending competitions or trying to get ready for a competition. And you play online or something to play against people who are most likely going to try to be on a competitive level. Because other than that, there's no point. Because if you're not having fun, then there's no point in any of that. Like for me, the most competitive I ever got with a fighting game was Skullgirls. And the furthest I ever got in a tournament was top 30 out of I have no idea how many people there were. I know it was like at least over 100 people or something like that. I don't know. It was back when the game like had released in like 2013, I think was when I went. No, I think it was 2012 was the first time. Because I think 14, it was either 14 or 15 was the last time I went. Because I know I've gone like 3 times, if I remember correctly. If you're playing for money and lost, I mean, it'd be dumb to do that because then you just lose your chances of getting more money. But like I can understand taking a loss hard and stuff like that, but you can't let it be your life. Obviously, if you're trying to make it a career, that's a bit of a different story because you're trying to make that be part of your life. But you also gotta, not let it rule you. And that's easier said than done. I understand that because for some people that matters a lot. It's like literally that one tournament of I don't know the player's name, but it was I want to say it was Street Fighter that they were playing, and it was a guy who did his super thought he won. Like he got up and started, parading around, not realizing that he did not do enough damage to win, or his opponent did not lose enough health for him to win with that super, and he ended up losing the tournament. And this was like finals, and he lost because of showboating. Like, I get it. The ultimate Tatsumaki. I'm gonna be honest, that's probably, like, again, if you're not competing in tournaments, that's not happening. Because at that point, you're, like, trying to give yourself a title that you don't technically earn. Assuming that's even a title, because I only know that as a move for Ryu. But yeah, like if you're trying to give yourself a title that you don't actually earn, then there's, again, you're putting yourself in a mentality that is only hurting yourself. But yeah, if you're trying to reach that goal, one, you have to start playing players that know how to play the game. Two, you have to go to tournaments. So that way you'll, build yourself a record of some sort. Because online does have its own type of record system, but again, playing in person is a whole other experience. And if you ever go to things like Evo and stuff like that to try to compete, then that's when, you'll feel the full experience. And then if you win, then you win, and you get the title for the year. Until next year. And if you did something amazing during that tournament, then you'll have a chance of being known for something. Kind of like with Justin Wong and Evo 37. So. But other than that, yeah, if you're not going to tournaments, then don't stress over it. But also understand that if you're playing online, understand that you are likely going to be up against people who learn to break the game. Because that is the exact scenario it is with Yu-Gi-Oh! Where everybody is forced to play competitively. Every once in a while, you can get away with using some random-ass deck that nobody's ever come across and probably win a good amount of times because people don't know how to deal with it. But once you get to, like, actual competitive, that shit ain't gonna happen very often. Like, there might be a sliver of chance that you might win a tournament using a very obscure deck, but for the most part, it's gonna be whatever's meta. But I would encourage going to a tournament just so you can have that experience at least once. In my case, it was really fun because I got to hang out with a bunch of the Skullgirls people, like including the devs, because some of the devs were people I actually hung out with and spoke to, and some I would consider friends. Because like I've gone to one of the developers' homes and chilled playing Skullgirls and other games. Like, That's how far me and my friends got with those people. So I would say it's a worthwhile experience to at least interact with more people that are interested in a game or series that you like. Whether it be, EVO or any other convention. Oh yeah. If you're playing a fighting game, you better understand how everything fucking works. Like, before I played Skullgirls, I did not have that mentality, and I got easily pissed off because I would just feel that certain scenarios were just unfair. But after playing Skullgirls and slowly getting it, I kind of phase out. I still get pissed off every once in a while with certain mechanics of certain games that just have no effort abilities and stuff like that happening. Again, Yu-Gi-Oh! There's always a scenario where you have one deck that spends a shit ton of time and resources to get to a certain spot on the board, and then you have another deck that just uses one card to get to that same scenario. So yeah, shit like that is going to happen, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately. Same applies to fighting games. There's going to be something that's stupidly broken or takes less effort than other characters. It's just going to happen. But it's good to experience it and acknowledge it. And then, try not to get pissed off at it, grow as a person. So, it is what it is. It just kind of boils down to, again, if you're going to tournaments, play for the money. Whatever is going to get you that money, you play it. If you're playing Street Fighter and for some reason fucking Hello Kitty is in the game, and Hello Kitty is the most broken ass character in the whole fucking game, you bet your ass you're going to be playing that character. Because if it takes Ryu 6 hits to take 50% damage, and it takes Hello Kitty 2 hits to get 50% damage, you're going to pick Hello Kitty. That's just how it's going to boil down. Maybe Hello Kitty will get banned in a tournament or something, but if that doesn't happen, you're playing Hello Kitty. That's the easiest way I can explain that. But if you go to a tournament just to have fun, you don't care whether or not you win the tournament, and you're just, vibing, then that's also good. And if you happen to win the tournament just by vibing, then that's just even better, because that just means that you got to relax and chill and just play the game you love, and you ended up winning. So that would be a cherry on top type of scenario. You gotta be careful with Raging Demon, because there's always a chance that you'll get screwed over for that move. Alright, have a good night. Unless you know the setup, unless you know, the frame data of, when you should properly be using that move, you're most likely not going to be using it. That's a move you use when you know you're going to beat the shit out of somebody. It's you hit them in the air at halfway down the screen. That means you have point whatever seconds to put in the Raging Demon before their character stands up. And assuming there's not an invincible moment for when they stand up and they're able to jump over the Raging Demon, then you're good. But if there's even a sliver of chance that could happen, you're not using that move. Well, even at close, there's a chance that characters can jump over it, so it really depends on the scenario. Because there have been people who have won tournaments using a Raging Demon from so fucking far away from their opponent, and it just happened to work out. Sometimes due to the mistakes of the other player, they probably thought that they could shoot a fireball at the Raging Demon or something, and like maybe that could have happened, but like the way the character shoots the fireball just so happens to miss the raging demon based on when and where the fireball appears, and thus they lose because the raging demon caught up to them and grabbed them. So heavily depends on who you're using it against, how the character works, data, and other shit like that. If you're using it on the CPU, you are not learning anything at all. I'm going to tell you that right now. The CPU will not help you learn. You have to play other players that know what they're doing. Anything you think you're learning from fighting a CPU is not going to help against players. And if you thought you were getting angry before, oh, playing against players will piss you the fuck off. Hell, in Skullgirls, we used to meme with Valentine, where we would crouch and smack the opponent and then grab them, then crouch and smack them again and grab them, then crouch and smack them again and grab them. And we used to call that the render because one of the players' name was Render. And we call it that because it was so stupid of getting tapped once and then grabbed, tapped once and then grabbed 3 times in a row, and then move on to like a full combo or whatever. Because it was just so stupid that anybody would get hit by that more than once. And every time it happened, it's like, up, he's getting rendered. And then me, I always did the most bizarre shit playing that game. Because I would just be like, nah, I picked that move because I like the animation, not what it did. And it would make no sense. And I got so much mileage out of that because it confused so many fucking people. Because it didn't make sense. It's like, why is he not using this? I was like, I just like this animation more. So yeah, like, shit happens. And that mentality got me to top 30, so I ain't complaining. I didn't even think I'd get top 30. Somehow I did. Good times. Why did it blank out so? But yeah, whenever you get a chance to play players of higher skill level, then I think you'll grow more. Yeah. It's a good move. Especially in certain games where it's invulnerable to fireballs. And then, like, for me, I would use a similar move with Misfortune from Skullgirls, where she would stand on her head and spin around. And at first it was a lost animation that got cut from the game, but then they decided to add it back in and made it available whenever she has her head on. And all it does is hit both sides of her. It's invincible to like low hits, low hits, and that's it. Me, I love the animation, so I just kept using it, even though she had another attack that was better. But I decided to use that one instead, and I got so much mileage out of it that the developer of Skullgirls made it her second option of assists when you're picking the assists, because you can customize the assist in that game, but you can also pick 2 default assists, and he made the second one the move that I use because I used it so much. And his logic was like, well, Viro's using it. It's been the only person to be using this move, and it's useful to him. So he made it the other move. It was funny because I was the only one showing that it was useful. So It's a nice nod he gave me. Those were good times. Hope he's doing well. Haven't talked to him in forever. Okay. Which Street Fighter are you playing? Six. I could have sworn he still has it in 6. You just have to do something else to make him do it. But I could be wrong. It's been a while since I played 6. I'm like on and off with certain games nowadays. Third Strike's fun. I know Street Fighter 3. I've been playing Street Fighter 3 music for the last, I don't know, 20 minutes now. Like, this is another song from Street Fighter 3. Alright, anyway. Move on. Yeah, I remember all that. Street Fighter 4 was fun though. I enjoyed it. I was not good at that game though. My brother is really good at fighting games, especially Melee. I would say Melee and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Let's just get the other one. There we go. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing multiple characters. It's just, if you're trying to be good at a particular game, you'll probably have to commit more time to it. Or end up becoming a specialist, like, focus on a particular character. Because if you're trying to play everybody, there's going to be, I mean, it's like the saying goes, jack of all trades, master of none, type of thing. And again, like, you have to play other players, so that way you'll know what moves actually work properly and what moves don't, because you have to understand what moves don't have good recovery when they're blocked. You know, what you got to understand your wake up timing, invincibility frames for certain moves, frame data. I was like, okay, how many frames does this attack last? Type of thing. Like, you got to understand all of that stuff if you're gonna try to take it seriously. But again, this boils down to whether or not you start playing competitively. Because if you're not doing any of that, then don't worry about it. Because if you're racking your brain over something you're not even gonna do, then you're just stressing yourself out for nothing. I mean, it's up to you on whether or not that applies. Yeah, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just gotta shrug off certain comments like that. But also, again, if you're trying to take something seriously that you're not, you know, going out of your circle to get better at, then you're almost kind of ruining the game for yourself as well. Because you're putting yourself into a mentality that's not good for you if you're unable to handle it properly. Especially if you're not expanding your experience. So, like, if you're only getting good playing against friends and neighbors and the CPU, then you're probably not going to be prepared for the harder stuff when you come across it. And hopefully, if you do experience that, it doesn't make you want to quit the game when you get a lot more losses than normal. Not saying you're going to lose every match, but more like it's going to more likely happen if you're not prepared. So it's just something to think about. I think when the phrase "try hard" comes into play is when you're like trying to learn meta stuff, but you're playing against people that don't do that, and it's kind of like it's almost like you're trying to be the best in the friend group when there's only like a small amount of people. So like, let's just say, for example, there's only 5 people and you're trying to be the best of the 5 people forever, then that's when that phrase would probably apply, because it's like, dude, we're just chilling. We're not trying to win the world here. So again, it comes with the mentality. It's like, what are you trying to do? Because again, if you're not in tournaments, if you're not actively trying to go to like local tournaments and then major tournaments, then again, you're just stressing yourself out for nothing. You're stressing yourself out and probably messing up friendships if you like this part is assuming like let's just say you lose and then you take it out on them type of thing, then yes, you're probably messing up friendships if you do that. But if you're not doing that, then you're fine. But again, if you're not going to majors and locals, then don't stress out over it. Just have fun. It doesn't hurt to learn more advanced gameplay stuff, and obviously if your friends want to get better themselves, then they too can learn it too. So, you know, it's a bit of a back and forth, depends on how serious they want to take it. Sure, like that can happen as well, because obviously, you know, you don't want to lower yourself just so your friends can have fun all the time. Like nobody will have fun at that point. But again, like it's also not something to lose your friends over. Yeah, nowadays it might be harder for locals, especially because of, you know, like after COVID happened, and then you probably have to like look up if there's any locals in your area. And then if there isn't, then most of the time online is depending on the game, is pretty decent to play against people, so you can get at least somewhat more experience playing advanced people. Other than that, the only other experience would be going to like majors, but yeah, if your options are limited, then just play the CPU on the highest difficulty. Obviously, there are going to be some exploits that you can do to the CPU that is not realistic to playing a player, but it'll still be better than nothing. And then if you have any close by friends that are advanced in playing those games, then that's another good option. But yeah, in terms of like local arcade stuff and all that, it's like, yeah, depending on where you live, that might be difficult, especially since a lot of venues have closed down due to COVID and all that. So I understand options are limited. So again, that's another reason why you like, you know, if you're not gonna go to tournaments and all that, don't stress out over it, because your options were limited to begin with. So it depends on how committed you are to it all. But again, don't stress out over it if you're not gonna do all that. Hopefully you get motivated. That's another factor. You have to be your own motivation for stuff like that. Like, you can't just hope it triggers and happens kind of thing. You have to self-motivate if you want to be serious about stuff like that. I mean, that applies to art, because it's like a lot of people go like, oh, you know, I'm not that good, blah blah blah, and it's like, well, you gotta put in the time and practice and whatever other things it takes to make art or play games. Like, you just can't sit there and be like, oh, well, I wasn't feeling it today, so I didn't practice or play or whatever. It's like, well, that's why you're not getting better, because you're being too you're being too reliant on other factors to happen to make you do the thing. And not like do the thing to the point of insanity as like, oh, well, I'm gonna be playing video games 23 hours and sleep like 30 minutes and eat 30 minutes and then get back to playing for 23 hours. Like, obviously doing that will not help you, because you'll burn yourself out doing stuff like that. But in like a controlled way where it's like, okay, put in the time, put in the effort, put in the practice, and then go from there. So if you're talking about motivation, you have to motivate yourself. Because sometimes I get asked, like, you know, how do I keep myself drawing comics all the time and stuff like that? And it's like, well, personally because I like it, but secondly, it's like I have more than enough that I want to tell that I have to do it. Like, when I get up in the morning, that is the thing I am doing. But yeah, you have to self-motivate. You hate when you draw, but then forget what to draw. Sometimes something as simple as pick a character, find a decent pose that you think looks cool, and then just draw that. Like, something as simple as that is enough. But then, you know, practicing is also helpful. So if you don't know what to draw, then practice. Just pick like a body part or a pose that you can't quite get down correctly, or a character design that you haven't fully fleshed out yet. Just work on that. Just work on something to improve on if you don't know what to draw. Just be like, damn, I don't know what to draw. I guess I'll work on drawing titties for the next hour and just get good at drawing titties. There you go. Yeah, and that's another thing. When you feel like you've lost the energy to draw, you cannot let yourself fall into that, or else you're never going to improve. You're just gonna not exactly keep making excuses, but you're always going to find reasons to not want to do the thing, whether it be drawing or anything else. Because for certain people that get easily demotivated, there will always be a reason for them to not do the thing. Okay. Did all that. Did I have her eyes? They're like that, but that's for a different situation, and I don't know if I want to do that anymore. That's for the glow. Do I use this in later pages? That is the true question. Eyes, how did I do them? Was it just the hearts? No, it was like that. Okay, that's what I was looking for. So we'll do that when I get there. Yeah, that's a good thing. Like, sometimes just watching somebody do something that you're interested in helps motivate you, because it's like, oh, well, this person's drawing, I want to chill and draw too. Like, sometimes it's something simple as that. Like, whatever gets you to do the thing easiest, just do that. Obviously, you know, too much of it will make you less and less motivated over time, so sometimes you gotta switch it up. But yeah, like, just find the motivation and stick with it. And sometimes there will be days where you're just not in the mood to work on something, and depending on the scenario, sure, fine, you know, take a break. But don't always let that be an excuse to not practice or not get better. Like, don't be looking for reasons to not do the thing. me zoom out a bit. Yeah, like you just gotta make like a personal plan for yourself, because you know the only person that can make that stuff happen is you. And if you're telling yourself you don't want to do it, or you're finding reasons to not do it, then that's, I mean, that's pretty much on you at that point. Like, nobody can make you do anything except yourself. And if you're not, you know, motivating yourself to do it, then you're either always going to be in the same spot, or you never moved at all from that spot. I'll be honest, like, okay, when it comes to something that you want to be passionate about, something like saying you forgot should not even be in the mentality, because if you're passionate about it, you're not going to forget. If you're not motivated or passionate for that thing, then it's not something you're interested in fully. Not saying that you will never want to do the thing, like drawing or playing fighting games to a certain level or something like that. It's just not in your true interests. It's more of a hobby. I will say your fans may care, but if you don't care, then that's ultimately all that matters. Because fans of something will eventually find something else to fill the void if one particular artist or content creator isn't doing what they're interested in, or changes something for the worst or something like that. They will find somebody else that can fill the void. It's up to you on whether or not you're going to keep them around. This part's always a pain in the ass, but it's worth it. Good on all of that. Like when a person's pressing against the stomach. Okay. Might be able to shortcut that. Let's see. Let's get there first. Well, if you're talking about like when characters make impressions while they're inside the stomach and all that, I do that every once in a while, but preferably I don't like it too much. Just kind of feel not feels odd, but just I don't know. It's just not one of my preferences for the style. If I find it necessary, then sure I'll draw it, or obviously for like a commission or something like that, I'll draw it more detailed. But I'm more into just like the subtle lumps being dampened by, you know, fat or just like the act itself, and just leave it at that. Like I'm not personally interested in the other design choice of it, but it's not a bad thing, just a preference, that's all. Inflation, it heavily depends on the scenario. Most of the time I'm kind of meh to it, just because it's not the same thing as weight gain. Weight gain is more amusing to me for multiple reasons, but yeah, it just boils down to preference. Like none of the three are like the best or bad of whatever theme, is just a preference. Like obviously for me, if I'm gonna pick which one's the top of the three, it'd be weight gain, just because I favor it more for the reasons that I like it. But other than that, you know, nothing against the other two. Vor is like a little bit closer to the weight gain, which is probably why I like it. but in terms of like pressing against the stomach in such a detailed way, I'm less in favor of that part. But other than that, pretty much fine with it. Will the snake get fatter for me, people? Yes, she will eventually. And I will add in one more detail and then I'll call it. I'll play like one more song just to get us through. I'm pretty much done. I still need to add the little markings under her eye, or the spots under her eyes, or whatever I'm called. What did I do to make it do that? Just 70% on normal. Okay. Glad you like them. Plum is actually a wolf. She was going to be a fox, but because Tiffany existed and was like pretty recent at the time, that's why I didn't opt to make her a fox. And then eventually, when I did apple cider, I wanted apple cider to be a fox, but I had already committed to Plum, and I already had like enough fox characters, so I made her a centaur as well. So like a centaur fox, just so I could have the best of both worlds. So that's the reason why that was a thing. Okay, I think she's fine on all of that. Let's experiment for a moment. So if I take these, let's duplicate, bring them over here. Oh, the hell? Diz, I think his name was, I think Dish Diz. Thank you for the follow, or for subscribing or following. Yeah, subscribing. Okay, there you go. Thank you for subscribing. I'm just gonna say Diz for now, unless I'm corrected. But thank you for subscribing. I was like, what the hell was that? That sound barely goes off, so I'm like, what the hell? Anyway. Okay, so let's turn this normal. Bring it all the way up to 100. Bring this one to 100. Turn this one normal. And we're going to change the colors. You. you. So you get to be this color. Are all the fruit name girls related? Yes. Yes, they are. They are all related. The ones who are not related are the ones that sound like a sandwich toppings. And then Rainbow Passion is technically all of the previous fruit girls combined into her. So let me just bring this up real quick just to explain it a little bit faster. You. All right. So to make this easy, use color red for this. So all right. So these characters down here, let me use a bigger brush. There we go. So all the characters down here not related to the top. This character over here, this one, she is all. Let me grab a pen. She is all of these characters over here combined into one. So that's how that works. The whole lore thing, eventually I'll get there. I'm slowly getting there. We're on Plum's comic, and eventually we'll do Jam's comic. And then the rest will get speed run because there are so fucking many, and not all of their stories are really that relevant, save for like maybe one or two. And then that's it. And then we'll conclude with how Rainbow Passion comes to be. And then the bottom groups, the bread, bacon, lettuce, and tomato and cheese, they are technically antagonists, and that's a whole other thing that's related to their story. So yeah, that's how that works. just just to save the headache of figuring that out. All right, so we did her color. I still need to do the bottom one, so let's do that real quick, and then we'll call it. So to do you lock, change your color. Oh, did I do yours wrong? I probably did. Okay, we'll fix that in a moment. Combine these two just so I don't have to think anymore. You change that to that. Did that even do anything? Yes, but just barely. You. Let's change your color because I think I did not do yours justice. Did that even do anything worth the effort? Yeah, that's probably gonna matter. I personally like the darker one. I'm gonna keep that. But do I want it this way? That is the other question. It's more prominent, but decisions. I'm gonna say yes, just because it brings out the shadows more. And then we still have to do this. Did I even click on it right? No, I did not. I was like, where's the change? There it is. Alright. Well, I'm going to call it for now. All that's really left is just drool, background, maybe some lighting, and then obviously I'm going to turn this into a cover. But yeah, she's pretty much done. So save those things, then yeah. So thank everybody for coming. I will debating on if I'm going to stream tomorrow because I might be doing like holiday stuff for to get ready for Thursday and all that. So we'll see how I feel in the morning. But wait, so Dragonbird Cat? Well, yes, because in their particular story, um, and no, it's not going to be paywalled. The only stuff that gets paywalled is usually either very specific themes and comics and stuff like that, or is just to be several pages ahead of the public. That's usually the case, and then obviously, um, special content or special artwork like art sets and stuff like that. Usually, that's paywalled or whatever. Also falls into my mood, so maybe sometimes I'll be like, yeah, fuck it, I'll post it and blah blah blah. Anyway, yes, they're not like it's not like a blood relation thing. It's just like they're all technically the same soul that got shattered into pieces, and eventually they will combine back together into one because they're technically a god that got shattered to pieces. So they're all demigods that combine into a god. That's how that works. It's not a like they're not actually birds, cats, wolves, and all that. They're actually a celestial deity. So to put it simply, they're just demigods that become a god. There you go. But but yeah. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming. I will see you guys in the morning, and have a good night or day, whatever your time frame is. And yeah,